Good evening, everybody. This is the BuzzCity post-game show for game number 24. I am your host, Dave Thompson, senior NBA writer for the threepointconversion.com, covering the Charlotte Hornets on a daily basis. And this is the best post-game show you're going to find anywhere about, of course, the team from Charlotte, North Carolina, the Charlotte Hornets. And tonight, once again, the Hornets had an interesting night. And before we get into their performance against the Utah Jazz, check out the Happs TV app. That way you know when my show comes on a nightly basis by going to the Happs app. Download it today if you've never seen it before. Also, if you're on any other social media platform like YouTube, Reddit, Facebook Live, any other site, you can always download it. So that way when your comments go on the screen, I can also see as well too to say hello as well. Also, if you enjoy the broadcast, download the app once again and subscribe for live content. And you even get 100 coins to join that you can support my work and also other journalists that are on here as well too. Also, if you're in the chat as well too, also say hello, what city you're from, and of course we'll post it on the screen. As you see, my main man Mike Patton is always the general in the building, saying hello. My main man Ted Hicks, as well as from Late Night Parents, Pablo is in the corner as well too from Los Angeles. Big shouts to everybody as well. And as you see, is Ted, as you saw what Ted did, donate the dollar. I appreciate that as well. So let's get into tonight's action as well. So the Charlotte Hornets started their second game. They started a stretch of 3 games in 4 nights tonight. It's literally been back to back to back, for the Hornets literally on a nightly basis. We just played 4 games this week, but tonight starts 3 games, and I would say less than 30 seconds in a 4-day period. Tonight you had of course, the Utah Jazz, who are the best team in the NBA. Tomorrow, on Sunday, they'll have the matinee game on Super Bowl Sunday against the Washington Wizards. And then Monday night, they turn right back around and play the Houston Rockets. All the games are at home. So the first game tonight of this road trip, this homestand, was against the Utah Jazz tonight, the team with the NBA's best record. And going into it, the Jazz were the NBA's leading three-point shooting team in the league. They hit almost 17 three-pointers a game. And they're also the best corner, I think top 5 in the NBA and corner three-pointers made. So a lot of their funneling goes to the corners. And Charlotte, who's the worst team to defend the three-point shot in the corner, it's an interesting lineup, an interesting matchup. On top of things, P.J. Washington is out with an injury, his foot injury. He did shoot around tonight. We don't know his status for Sunday with it being such a quick game. Coach Borrego said he'll do more of evaluation tomorrow at practice, but he was shooting before the game. So before tip-off happens, Borrego's new lineup tonight is he's starting all 3 guards with Gordon Hayward at the power forward spot. And you would think with Rudy Gobert down the middle, the Jazz, the Hornets were going to try to spread the Jazz out completely. And I'll say this, the Hornets got off to a great start tonight. They really got off to a great start. They was on a 9-0 run to get the game to 11-2 early part of the first quarter, and they were up by as much as 12 points. It was 24-12. Devontae's shot was going down early. LaMelo was creating, and really the spacing stayed away from Rudy Gobert. But there's a reason why the Utah Jazz are the Utah Jazz, and what they did towards the end of the first quarter was they started chipping away at the lead. And how you chip away at the lead is really by doing what the Jazz do best, and that's knock down three-pointers. The Jazz were getting in the corner, and you saw Mike Conley, you saw Bojan Bogdanovic, Royce O'Neal, Joe Ingles come off the bench, and Jordan Clarkson. The Jazz used a balanced attack with Rudy Gobert just grabbing every single rebound to dig into this lead. Gordon Hayward had 11 points in the first quarter against his former team, so it was a balanced first quarter. Even though the Hornets were up 32-30 at the end of the first quarter, you kind of had a feeling this was going to be one of those nights again. And when I say one of those nights where the Hornets were going to fall apart, and it just so happened midway through the early part of the second quarter, the wheels fell off. Devontae Graham was coming off a rebound and started coming up a little gimpy. He ended up missing the rest of the game. I think it was a calf or a hamstring. I can't remember the injury was, but he missed the rest of the game, and it was 42-35 at that point. When Graham goes down, Charlotte basically fell apart at that point. The Hornets, who were really getting back into the game, they were going point for point with the Jazz. Next thing you know, the wheels fell off completely. The Jazz knocked down a couple 3-pointers to extend this lead. Jordan Clarkson knocked down one. Mike Conley knocked down one. Charlotte would get a couple baskets here, cut the lead to 4, but then the Jazz started extending the lead even further. This is something we have not noticed in Charlotte. The Jazz went down after the lead got down to 3 after LaMelo Ball knocked down a 3-pointer. And we'll talk about Ball's offensive game to make it 50-47. The Jazz hit 4 consecutive baskets from behind the 3-point arc. And next thing you know, it is 62-49. with about 3 minutes in the quarter left in the second quarter, the Jazz started pulling away. The Hornets showed fight, but they got us down as many as 17 because they couldn't defend the 3-pointer. 69-54 was the score at the break. Donovan Mitchell really did not have a very good first half. He really only woke up in the late part of the second quarter because he only had 10 points, but the majority of those points came towards the end of the quarter when he started heating up. Jordan Clarkson led the Jazz. Jordan Clarkson led the Jazz in the first half with his 12 points, and really was just getting open looks. He also contributed a couple 3-pointers as well. Derek Favors had 7 points and 7 rebounds. The real story of the quarter and the half was what the bench was doing to Charlotte. Caleb Martin in the first half was a negative 28 in the first half. It was not pretty. What the Charlotte Hornets did tonight was not exactly what you had scripted, not how you want planned. The Jazz hit 12 3-pointers in the first half. Like I said, they averaged almost 17 a game. It was wide open season, and they took 27 threes in the first half compared to compared to 47 shots total as a team. Charlotte struggled from behind the line, and when Devontae left the game, he had 11 points. He was 4 or 5, 3 or 3 from deep. You can say a lot about Devontae Graham. You have the people that split down the middle of how they feel about Devontae Graham. But in a game like this, Devontae is the one shooter on this team other than Terry Rozier that if he catches fire, he can go 3-point for 3-point with the Utah Jazz because he's one of the best shooters in the NBA. Go look at the 3-point numbers over the last couple of years. If you get to over 300 3-pointers in the length of time he did, he's the 5th fastest in the history of the NBA to do so. So we get into the third quarter, and Charlotte started chipping back at the lead. They tried to chip back. The Jazz extended this lead out to 20, but anytime Charlotte would get a couple baskets in a row, the Jazz knocked down a 3-pointer. If it wasn't for Mike Conley or Donovan Mitchell, somebody was knocking down a 3-pointer. Every time Charlotte get that lead to get to 20, Charlotte would chip way back at it a little bit, and then the Jazz would get a couple more possessions. Bogdanovic knocked down a 3-pointer. He hit 2 of them in I think it was a 30-second period to get the lead up to 23. The Jazz were up as many as 25 in the quarter, and once again, the Hornets try to chip back in. At the end of the third quarter, they had a 10-2 run to end the third quarter. And at the end of the 3, Charlotte was down 106-90 after a couple free throws at the end of the quarter by Joe Ingles. At this point, Charlotte was just treading water at this point. It was another bad defensive effort in the quarter. The Hornets did score 36 points, but the Jazz scored 37. They hit 7 3-pointers, and a lot of them seemed to be wide open. And how Clarkson did Charlotte in the first half, Bogdanovic was doing it in the third quarter. He had 14 in the quarter, was a perfect 4 for 4 from the floor, 4 for 4 from deep, knocked down both his free throws. The Jazz hit 7 of 12, 11 from the quarter. On the Charlotte end, Gordon Hayward had 14 in the quarter. He was doing everything he could offensively, but you can tell when you get down that many points and you're playing small and you're without one of your better shooters, it changes the way you have to maneuver. We saw it with the injury to Rozier a couple games ago. We saw it without PJ. They had to do what they had to do. And what the offensive rhythm they had in the first quarter was taken away when Devontae came out. And then you can't really go attack Rudy Gobert. You can't go for mid-range game because if the Jazz are hitting 3-pointers everywhere, you got to go matching point for point. Give the Hornets credit to start the fourth quarter because, as always, the Hornets used resiliency to fight back in this game. They got the lead down to 9 at 2 different points in the fourth quarter because of LaMelo Ball, who had an outstanding fourth quarter, by the way. Between him knocking down threes and hitting floaters and stealing the basketball, playing passing lanes, Melo was everywhere on the court, and it just wasn't the offensive side of the ball. He was getting his teammates involved. And Charlotte got the lead down to 9, but then when the lead got down to 9 at the 8-minute mark, once again, Royce O'Neal and then Bojan Bogdanovic, back-to-back 3-pointers. The game's back up to 15, and there was nothing Charlotte can do. The Jazz kept extending the lead out. They extended it out. The Hornets got back down to 9 once again with about 2 minutes left after a Rozier layup, and really it was Joe Ingles and Bogdanovic getting the last couple baskets. We saw Nick Richards hit a couple free throws. Final score 138-121 was the final tonight. Jazz are now once again, the best team in the NBA. The Jazz will now extend their record on the season out to a grand total of 18-5. Hornets now fall to 10-13. So let's talk about the game tonight. As you saw, Mike Patton in the chat said it's a war of attrition. And it's before people start making the point about Charlotte at this point. Here's the thing: they played the last two games against the best team in the East and the best team in the West. Okay, in the first game, of course, we didn't have PJ Washington, and then you didn't have Terry Rozier. So Charlotte's already going in there shorthanded. All right, against Joel Embiid, arguably the MVP of this league right now. Ben Simmons driving to the lane, Tobias Harris, Shake Milton, everybody was hitting shots for the Sixers in that game. It's already a hard enough matchup. Now you go against the Jazz, who can literally just light it up from anywhere on the court. And if you look at the Jazz, who hit 26 threes as a team, they set a franchise record with 26 threes in the game. They played 10 players tonight, and the only two players that did not hit a three-pointer was Rudy Gobert and Derek Favors. Everybody else hit a three-pointer. Even Mahara Oni, the kid, the rookie from Yale, was Yale. He even came in for a few minutes, knocked down a three when Mike Conley was injured, and sat the rest of the game out. It was wide open season for the Utah Jazz behind the three-point line. So Charlotte, who's been playing so hard and so they're not depth, they're not deep. So they bring Miles Bridges off the bench tonight to try to get some more energy out of him and try to bring some energy to the second unit. And it really didn't work tonight. Miles was just all over the place. He didn't play well. He was 1 of 7 on the floor. He missed 4 3-pointers on the night. The bench didn't do much with the exception of Bismack Biyombo. And what Biyombo brought tonight was, ironically, of all the guys on the floor that you would think that would not have this type of game, it was Biyombo that did it. And Biyombo had, he had 13 points. He had 13 points off the bench tonight. Let's see. Sorry about that, y'all. Bismack Biyombo, as you saw the clip here, Biyombo had a very, very good game tonight. He had 13 points off the bench, as you see in the upper right-hand corner. Biyombo really, with LaMelo on the court, they did, the things that we had seen throughout preseason. And really, as you saw on this play here, I'm sorry, trying to get the video to queue up. LaMelo was really getting Biz at the rim. And when you get Biz at the rim, hey, listen, he caught alley-oops. He was catching plays here and there. Let me try to see if I can get this thing to rewind again. But as you can tell, like I said, Biyombo had 13 points off the bench and really sparked what only bench player did anything tonight. Outside of that, if you look at the numbers tonight or just watch the game itself, Malik Monk, even though he had a good week, he only had 6 points on 8 shots tonight. Caleb Martin, he played solid, 7.7 rebounds. He did a few things here and there. Cody Martin played 5 minutes. Like I said, Bridges really wasn't that good tonight. And Charlotte just got out-benched by the Jazz tonight. On the starting end tonight, LaMelo Ball, a career-high 34 points tonight. Offensively, he was just phenomenal everywhere on the court. As you see in this play here, I want to say it was early in the fourth quarter. This was a three-pointer that normally you don't want him to take, but guess what? He was knocking it down, as you saw him in the wide open corner. Like I said, he had the 34 points tonight. Outstanding game from him tonight as well. So Gordon Hayward, I think, 27 points, 25 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists from him tonight. Terry had 15 points in his first game back in about 36 minutes. So let's talk about what Coach Borrego had something to say tonight on the effort of the Hornets tonight. So let's get into it. I had a chance to talk to Coach Borrego at the end of the game tonight, and one of the things that he had mentioned tonight was he didn't want LaMelo Ball to play as many minutes as he did. LaMelo played 40 minutes, almost 40 minutes tonight, and with him playing so many minutes tonight, you have to wonder how you don't want to have him play these type of minutes in these type of situations. But tonight was it. He was really alarmed, really concerned about the number of minutes he played. But if you take away the other parts, he was actually really pleased with not just LaMelo's shot selection, but the fact that this was the first game of Melo's career they played this type of minutes with 8 assists and not one single turnover. He didn't give the ball away tonight. It wasn't him that, you can say, oh, LaMelo turned the ball over. No. LaMelo did everything you asked him to do tonight. And I got to mention how this was the game before was his best game of the season. A couple nights ago, I think it was the Miami game, or it was Miami game, I said, or the Indiana game. But this, to me, was his best offensive game all the way around. His shot selection was good. Yeah, he had a couple shots at the end of the game where he was challenging Rudy Gobert, but they were down by 16 points. I don't mind those shots. But if you look at his numbers tonight, 14 to 27, I can live with that because he was aggressive. The problem was the referee was not giving LaMelo a chance to get to the line. There was a couple of times tonight where LaMelo got fouled, and there was really nothing there. The referees were eating the whistle. For 27 shots, he did drive to the lane plenty of times tonight, like I said. And then the 3-point shooting tonight, he knocked down 4 of 9 from the 3-point line. Like I said, with Devontae being out, he took the role of trying to be the scorer for the Hornets tonight, and he did a very good job of it. Like I said, offensively, this was LaMelo's best game of the season. In the second half, he had 22 of those points in the second half. He had 15 in the fourth quarter. Now, mind you, he did take half the shots. He was 6 of 12, though. But he was the only player in the second half outside of Hayward that was doing anything, in him and Biyombo. Those three were carrying the offensive load. On top of what LaMelo did tonight, he gave it on both ends of the court. Yeah, he picked up 4 fouls in the second half, but listen, some of those fouls were hustle plays, and also those were some of the plays where the whistle was being blown because Donovan Mitchell was just getting calls everywhere. JB had got a technical foul the other night because his team was not getting calls. And in the second half, the Jazz outshot the Hornets from the free throw line, and they doubled their free throw total. In the second half, the Jazz got to the line 14 times, to the Hornets only 9. And like I said, there were calls that they did not get. Now, Charlotte shot 4-16 from the three-point line in the second half, even though they shot 54% from the floor. Ironically, the Jazz just destroyed them from the three-point line tonight. So the keys, Del Curry always mentions before every game that if the Hornets can keep the other team under 30 points in a quarter, you got a good chance of winning. Well, Hornets were 0 for 4 tonight. They gave up 39, 37, 32, and 30 in the first quarter. That's not going to work. Charlotte had a quarter where they scored 22. And for the second time in 2 games, they had a stretch of basketball where they couldn't score. We saw it on Monday night. We saw it on Wednesday, where they were down 30-13 before they had a chance to even blink. Tonight it was 39-23 in the second quarter. The Jazz, like I said, was up as many as 26 in this game. And it just happens. Now they have Washington and Houston on a back-to-back on Sunday, Monday, and Charlotte has a chance to win both these games because of injuries to the other team. On the flip side, I mentioned when the show started about how the Jazz were so efficient from the corner three-point shot. I mean, they treat the corner three, for those who are a little bit on my side of my age, they shoot the three-pointer from the corner like the Boston Frogs small forward on double dribble. He gets in that corner, it's going in. The Jazz got to that three-point line in that corner tonight, and once again, I said that the NBA's best at it, or the top 5 in it. They hit 10 three-pointers from the corners tonight. They were 10 for 17 from the corners. As anybody knows who knows basketball, the corner three is the easiest shot to make in the game. What made it worse was the Jazz were 16-33 from everywhere else behind the three-point line. And if you look at all the numbers tonight and look at where the Jazz shot, like I said, they took a boatload of 3-pointers tonight. And, they took, 50 3-pointers tonight on how many shots was it? It took 50 3-pointers tonight, guys, and they only took 37 twos. Here's the stat of the night. The Jazz only took shots from the three-point line and the paint. They took nothing from the mid-range. Not one shot from the mid-range the entire night. They didn't make one shot from the mid-range all night, which is, I think, ironically the weirdest stat I've seen in a shot chart game in a very, very long time, where a team doesn't take one shot from mid-range, not one. They were 18-24 from inside the inside the circle, 4-13 from inside the paint, but they shot not one shot from the mid-range the entire game. 53 pointers, 37 shots, not one from mid-range tonight. Mike Patton in the chat says, does LaMelo go back to the bench when everybody gets healthy? If you're scoring 34 points, 8 assists, no turnovers, you're rebounding the ball, and everybody's getting in position, no, I don't think you do that. I think they tried the 3-guard line tonight, and Coach Borrego, once again, is going to experiment. The team isn't healthy right now, so what's the best lineup? I think it's going to be, when PJ gets back, it's going to have to be LaMelo with Rozier. I think Graham is going to go back to the bench. I think that's what's leaning towards, because Gordon Hayward at the 4 is not going to last. It's not going to work very much. Okay, PJ is going to have to play the 5 with Zeller at the center position. This is the best way it's going to work for Charlotte all year. You can't put LaMelo back on the bench right now. The kid's playing at an unbelievable level over the last few games. He's doing something different every single night. The effort's there. And like I said, tonight, no turnovers. There is not one that you can even say, oh, he had a bad pass here. Oh, he made a bad look here. No, he played a literally flawless game as a point guard tonight. Everything you wanted him to do, he did tonight. Jersey in the in the chat asking who's the leader for sixth man of the year. Well, we saw him in action. It's like Jordan Clarkson, to me, who leads all bench players in scoring, is the sixth man of the year. Go back to what he did in the first half. It was a game where it was a game in flow. And when I say a game in flow is like this. There are parts of this game where certain guys took over certain parts of the game. In the beginning for the Jazz, Rudy Gobert was just taller than everybody, and he was doing what he wanted to. But he picked up a second foul early in the first quarter, and you saw the Jazz go to a different lineup. And Gobert really only played 26 minutes tonight, even though he had 15 rebounds. When he went to the bench, Jordan Clarkson came in and started getting buckets like he always does. He got 5 quick points not too long after he got in, and he carried it over. He had 12 in the first half. As soon as he stopped scoring, it went from Gobert, then you went to Clarkson, then you went to Donovan Mitchell closing the first half. Bogdanovic got hot in the third quarter, and then Bogdanovic had 14 in the third quarter. He said Mitchell had 10 in the quarter in the second. Bogdanovic carried it over to the third quarter where he had 14 and Mitchell had 9. And then you got in the fourth quarter. And at that point, Bogdanovic was so much on the roll, and Donovan Mitchell was closing the game out because both of them had 20 points apiece in the second half. The Jazz are lethal and they're dangerous. Like I mentioned on Twitter, the Jazz, this is not something that is going to be a fad. The Jazz are actually locked and loaded. And what makes it crazier is that Mike Conley got hurt. And he didn't play, I think he played 5 minutes in the second half. They were going to Clarkson. They were going to Oni. They were going to Joe Ingles. You saw Royce O'Neal. Everybody was getting in the effort of hitting of behind shot making. When you hit 26 threes in the game and 8 of those guys hit three-pointers, everybody had to be guarded on the court. Il Guerrero in the chat saying, you're right. LaMelo is, you can't put LaMelo back on the bench at this point. James Borrego's at the point of no return. No, I don't think, even if Devontae is healthy in this lineup, it's only going to be one of two things. It's going to be one of two things. It's either LaMelo's going to start with Rozier or you're going to start 3 guards. It's one or the other. You're not going to put LaMelo back on the bench at this point. It doesn't make sense. No, Il Guerrero, if you look at the points, they had 20 points apiece in the second half. They had it between, like I said, Bogdanovic and Mitchell had 20 apiece in the second half. City of Charlotte, I think he's on Periscope saying that he loves the ball Miles combo. Listen, we love that combo as well too. Them two off the bench have an outstanding chemistry. And if you go to the 3-point conversions YouTube page, Miles talks about it. I think he talked about it the other day about how they have clicked so much since they've been together and how much fun it is for both those guys to play together. And it's a really good, about maybe 2-minute answer that he gave about the process of how they've grown and how they've taken each other and have grown close at this point. Like I said, the Jazz are a totally different team than anybody else in this league. They're the best record in the league. They have the best record in the league for a reason. They're 18-5. Yes, everybody knows that in the Western Conference, the NBA, everybody's chasing the LA Lakers. We all know this. But the Jazz, because they have so many guys, and one thing about Donovan Mitchell is that it's not about the usage. Mitchell's hitting 40% of his threes this year. And so he's been way more accurate with his shot. Bogdanovic is healthy. And what hurt the Jazz last year in the playoffs was they lost to Denver, but remember, Bogdanovic was out. Bogdanovic was a 20-point-a-game scorer last year. So your second leading scorer is out and is down to Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley, who's getting healthy, and a bunch of other players. Missing 20 points, no matter who, is going to hurt. Now he's healthy. Mitchell's now healthy. The Jazz are really, really playing good basketball. And here's the thing. The Jazz can take chances because you have a guy who's arguably the best defensive player in the league in the post, and Rudy Gobert waiting for you at the rim. Tonight I think Gobert had 4 or 5 blocks tonight in the paint and really readjusted other shots. He finished with 4 block shots tonight, but he also readjusted shots in the paint. The Jazz also had 9 blocks because guess what? When Gobert goes out, Derek Favors comes in. Favors had 3 blocks off the bench in 21 minutes. So here's the thing. On Facebook, hey, Facebook user, go ahead. Listen, subscribe to Happs so I can see who you actually are. The Hornets should have drafted Donovan Mitchell. We can say the Hornets should have drafted this person or this team should have been drafted. This guy should have been drafted here. We don't know how players go when they go to systems. It's really all about how the player reacts when they get to a system. Nobody thought Giannis was going to be that guy except for a guy out in Dallas named Don Nelson who said that he wanted him in Dallas a long time ago. So you have to think of it as this. You can say every day, "Oh, this guy should have been drafted. This guy shouldn't have been drafted." But when you put the numbers down and you look at it from here and there, it's really about situations, and guys grow and guys develop at different times. So we can say that Charlotte should have drafted him. There are plenty of guys Charlotte should have drafted, and if I really want to go to that part, I can tell you at least 10 guys Charlotte should have drafted over other players. I mean, I can go back to even the year the Hornets drafted Sean May. I was big on Danny Granger that year. I was big on Gerald Green. Those guys were better fits than Sean May at the time. Okay, we can go back to Adam Morrison the year Morrison was drafted. On top of that, they should have drafted Rudy Gay that year. You know, you can say hindsight's 2020 when it comes to growth, but we don't know. When you're drafting, I'll say it's the NBA draft outside of number 10 is a crapshoot. Guys fit in certain places. Did anybody know how good Tyler Hero was going to be his first year in Miami? We really didn't. When you look at how good Bam Adebayo has been, it's taken time for him to develop. Devin Booker was a bench player for the first 2/3 of his rookie season, and we didn't know how good he was. It really just depends. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, guy the Hornets drafted, SGA. We didn't know how good he was until he was traded to Oklahoma City, and he got beside Chris Paul and learned the game from Chris Paul. It just takes time. You don't know. It's a complete crapshoot. There's guys in this class. Cole Anthony's been one of the best rookies in the class this year, and he was drafted 14 by Orlando. Why? It's because of, guess what? Opportunity and situation. So, when the Hornets drafted Malik Monk, Monk had more potential than any player. He's starting to see it, but it's been almost 4 years. We saw it at the end of last year, but it's been almost 4 years, and we're just now getting Malik Monk. Facebook user says Bam, Booker, and the Atlanta Falcons. That's got to be somebody being funny. Yes, it is 28-3 day. I didn't really want to talk about it. I won't talk about it tonight. City of Charlotte on Periscope saying Sean May. Listen, Sean May was Charlotte's way attempt to trying to put him and Okafor together. I don't believe that. And yes, Jersey, Charlotte did draft Kobe. But the difference was Charlotte traded Kobe because Kobe didn't want to be in Charlotte. It's just very simple. He wanted to play in a completely different market, and it is what it is. Patrick Tuca on YouTube is saying Mitchell and Donovan, it was just them two lighting Charlotte up from the 3-point line. Yes, they did combine to knock down 12 3-pointers, but don't forget Royce O'Neal hit a couple 3-pointers. He had 3 of them. Clarkson hit 3 of them. Joe Ingles hit probably one of the ugliest 3-pointers I've ever seen, where he caught the ball didn't move out of his hands, and he shot it from where he caught it from. That was 3-pointer number 26. So John's now over on Periscope is saying Malik Monk's a bench warmer. Well, here's the thing: Malik Monk is superly talented, but he still is not putting it all together. There are games like we saw on Monday night where against Miami where he's shooting everything and it goes in, but there are nights like tonight where it just didn't seem like the same Malik Monk. We had, as Borrego has always said about the players, especially the ones off the bench, consistency is what he's needed. Now with LaMelo Ball going in the starting lineup more likely and going to be implanted in there, Devontae is a volume shooter and is going to have to get buckets and have to get a number of shots. Malik Monk is going to have to be the energy that LaMelo Ball was bringing from the bench. That's what Malik Monk's role is going to have to be going forward. Devontae is not the energy player that LaMelo is. It's just they're two different types of players. LaMelo brings a completely different type of energy to the floor. The only other player that can bring that type of energy on the floor is Malik Monk. If Monk is giving energy along with Miles, then yes, Monk is going to have a place in this league. And I've said it best. Malik Monk, I think the ceiling for him is J.R. Smith. And that's not a bad thing because J.R. Smith in Denver was really, really good. J.R. Smith in New York was a 6th Man of the Year candidate all the time. Guys that can come off the bench and shoot as much as they want to. And I think that's what Devontae is going to have to do. And he's still going to get his minutes. When Devontae goes to the bench, he's still going to get his minutes. Vegetable Foot says, what are my thoughts on Rozier? His first game back tonight, I did not expect Terry to play as many minutes, but hey, listen, no one expected Devontae to get hurt in the second quarter either. Rozier's timing was off. He did have 15 points, 5 assists, and 4 rebounds tonight to go along with 3 steals. He was very active. One thing about Terry Rozier is that I had talked to Terry about Donovan Mitchell in pregame. I think it was shoot around. I think it was yesterday or today. And I asked today. And I asked him about guarding Donovan Mitchell, and he said how good of a scorer Mitchell is. It's hard to guard Donovan Mitchell. And for coming off an injury, he just has an ankle injury. He actually moved pretty well. The timing was off. His shot was off tonight. There's a lot of shots Rozier missed tonight, especially those couple of wide open 3-pointers. He normally hits on a regular basis. I think he'll be a lot better on Sunday. I think having another day to get himself acclimated. Remember, he really was ready to go and was he was probable all day. They officially made the decision around 7:30. So I give him a game or so to get back into it because guess what? Charlotte's got back-to-back. I think he'll be better on Sunday against Washington because this is a game Charlotte has to win on Sunday. Jersey saying he's a big fan of Bobcat Orange. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Bobcat Orange too. I mean, listen, that was one of the few things the Bobcats got right was the color orange. All right. So, guys, game balls tonight. Once again, the number one game ball tonight, the guy who deserves the biggest game ball tonight is LaMelo Ball. Like I said, career high, 34 points, 14 and 27 from the floor, knocked down 4 3-pointers, but the best stat of the night was 0 turnovers, 8 assists, a couple of hustle plays on defense, a couple of steals. He's provided everything Charlotte needed tonight. And Rick Bonnell had mentioned earlier in the Observer, actually on Twitter, but he mentioned the article in the Observer today, that the way Charlotte wins is also a lot of times the way Charlotte loses. And what he says by that is it's Gordon Hayward scoring, and then you need a second person. Tonight, LaMelo was the guy, and they just couldn't get anywhere else because the Jazz hit an insane number of threes. It was LaMelo's best game on the offensive side of the ball. Like I said, when you have 8 assists and no turnovers, that to me is the most proud stat I've seen LaMelo play all year. Forget the 34 points, which was great tonight. Even the 4 of 9 shoot from the 3-point line, because you can tell, including the off-balance 3 we showed earlier, he was hitting him. But the poise he had tonight, he had so many players. He hit so many passes tonight. In other games that would have been flashy passes, tonight wasn't as flashy. He even hit Biz perfectly on the alley-oop tonight. Biz caught an alley-oop. There was a couple of plays where he got to the rim, and it was an easy dunk for Biz. Mike Patton says Biz is the only player to play for the Bobcats and the Hornets. No. Kemba Walker did as well, too. Walker was part of the Kemba was a Bobcat as well as a Hornet. So he's the other player that played for both teams. Wounded Surfer, since we're talking about the Jazz tonight, how do I feel about Shaq's comment about Donovan Mitchell? Well, listen, I've always said like this. Older players, and as much as I love legends, I've been around plenty of legends, the ones that have a lot more difficulty with the changing of the NBA, because if you look at like Charles Barkley, for example, Barkley played in the 80s. Shaq played in the 90s, and he's in the 90s, and he was peaking towards the middle part of the 2000s. We're now 15 years later. Okay, the game has changed. So what Shaq's statement is saying about Donovan Mitchell not being a star is, listen, he's saying basically little people can't control the league. And how many star players that Shaq says they're under 6'5"? Let's count him here. I'll wait for you to go in there. The only person that he really does talk about at that level, I want to say, is Kyrie Irving, maybe. Outside of that, no guy at under 6'4", 6'5" gets that type of credit. And people think that little guys or smaller players can't lead teams. Donovan Mitchell's a star player in this league. He's almost at superstar level. And what will get him to superstar level is the Jazz have to get out of the first round of the playoffs. The Jazz are going to have to get to the conference finals. It's the same thing that happened with Damian Lillard in Portland. How did Damian Lillard become a star? The year the Blazers got out of the first round of the playoffs, and Lillard was going nuts that year. I think they lost in the second round that year. And then they got to the conference finals not too long after that. That's what made Lillard a superstar in this league. Mitchell has to be able to get his team out of the first round and potentially cause a lot of damage in round 2. Maybe even win and get to the conference finals. That's how he becomes a star in this league, and that's how you earn respect. Shaq always says, well, I got rings. It is what it is. The only way to become a quote-unquote star in those type of players' eyes is you got to win. And in Barkley's case, Barkley is the older gate. They talk about guys and their salaries, but think about this. Shaq made $100 million one time. Donovan Mitchell is going to make $100 million probably 3 times in his career in 3 different contracts. Barkley never hit $100 million in his whole career. I don't think he might hit $80 million in his career in total earnings on the court. You have about maybe 10 players in this league that will make more in one contract, maybe probably more than that. I can name at least what three guys on some rosters that have 80 and $90 million contracts for a 4 or 5 year period, and they made more than what Charles Barkley made his whole career. I think it's wallet envy. I mean, Rudy Gobert said it best. Look at my wallet compared to yours, and that's what it is. All right, guys. Like I said, tonight is it was a crazy night for the Hornets. It was kind of one of those abnormal nights in Charlotte. The Jazz hit 26 3-pointers tonight. It's the franchise record. No other Jazz team hit this many threes ever in a game. So it's in that it's an abnormality. It's just one of those nights where it's just everything was abnormal. I mean, the Jazz didn't take one mid-range shot tonight. It just happens that way. What to look for on Sunday? The good news is the Hornets play arguably the worst team in the NBA in the Washington Wizards tonight on Sunday. A team that just literally got spanked by the Miami Heat. Maybe a game that might turn the Heat season around. The Wizards are just flat horrible. And the bad part with Washington is that no matter how good Bradley Beal, listen, Beal only had 7 points, but the way Bradley Beal's been playing, he deserves to have a night like this. Beal's been carrying this team everywhere from the start of the season. The NBA's leading scorer, and he still will be the leading scorer, even with his 7 points tonight. What the Wizards bring to the table, besides Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, is the fact of they have Rui Hachimura, Denny Avdia, Davis Bertans is one of the best shooters in the NBA, Alex Len, who they brought in, and a team full of players that are just okay. I like Hachimura, I like Westbrook. And so how can Charlotte win this game on Sunday? Well, there's a couple of ways Charlotte can win. If PJ Washington's in the lineup, it makes a complete difference in the change and also in the rotation. More likely, Bismack Biyombo might not play as many minutes as he did. But the good news is if PJ's back in the lineup, there's no way the Martin twins play at power forward on Sunday. The other part is it's different because the last two games, the Hornets have had to deal with not just one defensive monster. They had to deal with two of them in the paint, which is Joel Embiid and Rudy Gobert. The Wizards on Sunday, their starting center is Robin Lopez. No offense to Robin Lopez. And I like Robin Lopez, a great guy, one of my favorite interviews in the league. But listen, Robin Lopez is not Rudy Gobert, and he's definitely not Joel Embiid. The Hornets can actually get to the rim. I think you'll see a lot more of LaMelo penetrating and a lot more easy open dunks. Charlotte is a top 5 team in the league in getting dunks. I expect them to be out in transition, especially with Gordon Hayward, who, as you can see over the last few games, is driving more to the basket and getting people wide open, as you saw. I think he had with Biz, I think it was tonight or the other night, where Biz had a wide open dunk. You're going to see them drive to the paint a little bit more. The other part is, if you watch the Wizards game tonight, I'm pretty sure if you're really a Hornets fan, you didn't watch this Wizards game tonight, the Heat, who struggle behind the three-point line, were able to get wide open shots. Olynyk knocked down 5 threes. Tyler Hero knocked down a couple threes. Even Iguodala was knocking down threes tonight. The Hornets, if Devontae is available on Sunday, should be able to get open looks. They should be able to drive and kick. This should be a game where Malik Monk should get wide open shots. This is a game where Terry Rozier, if he's in rhythm, should get shots. Gordon Hayward's right close. Gordon Hayward's at 50, 40, 85. This should be one of those games where Gordon gets wide open looks behind the three-point line. And you should see LaMelo drawing attention. On top of how bad the Wizards have been on the offensive end, they give up points everywhere on defense. So if Charlotte has any game to run up and down, this is the game to do it. Also, if Rozier can get in the face of Russell Westbrook and cause frustration early, this will be a good sign for Charlotte. The Wizards are reeling. I don't know what's going to happen to Washington. Something tells me a trade's happening, but it's really on Bradley Beal. Beal wants to be in Washington, and listen, the longer he wants to be there, the worse it's going to be for him. The good news is he'll be League's leading scorer, but this time he won't miss the All-Star game. On top of that game on Sunday, they play Monday against the Houston Rockets, and you never want to say good news about an injury, but there's a good part of this injury on Monday, and there's a bad part of this injury on Monday. The good part for Hornets fans is that Christian Wood, former Charlotte Hornet, has hurt his ankle and is going to be evaluated week to week, not game to game, not day by day. It is week to week with his injury. That means Christian Wood, averaging right around 25 points and 10 rebounds a game, will be out of the lineup. Enter DeMarcus Cousins, a guy I thought Charlotte should have signed in the offseason. Well, it's going to be a good boogie or a bad boogie. That's the question. Charlotte's going to have to get to the rim. Like I said, PJ hopefully is back in the lineup, and we'll get to Monday's game. We get to Monday's game, but if you look over the next two games, there's some deficiencies and flaws in those two teams. Even though the Rockets have been playing some really good basketball, but Christian Wood being out is a completely different story. I appreciate Facebook user. I appreciate that. The Hornets will score the most points in the game. Listen, Mike, they can score a lot of points, but remember they put up 121 against the Jazz tonight, and they still lost. I think that they're going to put up a good number of points, but we don't know if Devontae is out. We don't know the severity of his injury. We don't know if PJ is going to go with the bad foot. So about scoring the most points on Sunday with potentially two more starters out, I'm not sure if that's going to be a number to hit, especially hit 121 last night. I think they scored 127 against the Bucks last Saturday, and arguably their best game of the season as a total unit. So check out 3pointconversion.com on YouTube to check out all the post-game footage tonight with Coach Borrego, of course, Gordon Hayward, and LaMelo Ball talking about the game tonight. There might be practice tomorrow. It'll probably be something light. We'll have some with Coach Borrego tomorrow afternoon. Hornets play on Sunday. Let me get the time straight. Sunday. It is a Super Bowl Sunday. The NBA knows the Super Bowl Sunday game. So the game against the Washington Wizards Sunday will be at 1 p.m. If you look on the schedule, it would say the Portland Trailblazers. But due to the outbreak of the Wizards earlier on the season, they had to readjust some games. Of course, Charlotte was one of those games they had to readjust. So they'll play Portland in the second half of the season. That schedule will be out next 2 to 3 weeks. And they slided in the Wizards for this game at 1 p.m. on Sunday. So that means you got to get up early, get your tailgate stuff done early, get your wings fried. And while you're frying your wings and getting ready for your Super Bowl, hopefully your Super Bowl in-house party with the people you're staying with, you can get ready to watch Hornets take on the Wizards, like I said, in the matinee on Sunday. Like I said, follow me on Twitter at DannyDANNY number 3 Thompson on Twitter, as well as on the 3pointconversion.com. Check out the show tomorrow with Raphael and Controversial Raphael and the intellectual and my main man G behind the boards. 11 a.m. on iHeartRadio, the YouTube channel, as well as if you're in Atlanta, WWE 1110. Check out Beyond the Buzzer on Thursday nights. 9 p.m. on Zingo Television, Blackjack TV, channel 198, as well as Facebook Live. Also, like I said, once again, check out Mike Patton's show touring the AFC on Thursday nights as well, too. And don't worry, the Super Bowl might be tomorrow night, but the NBA is going to take over the following week, and who knows? You might see me more on Happs talking full-fledged NBA because, of course, as you talk tonight, there's a couple of people in the chat are wanting to talk about other parts of the NBA, and trust me, I can definitely talk about the rest of the NBA, and we'll get more into it as we get down the second part of the season. And no, Mike, I said controversy, Raphael, leave me alone. I didn't call a full government on that one. But like I said, I appreciate everybody in the chat tonight. Like I said, so many people in so many different places. I appreciate all the love and support and everybody, of course, who donated to the show tonight. And like I said, if you find in your heart to donate, please, 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 please donate. It doesn't even matter if it's 10 cents or $1, or you know what, even better, you can even sponsor a brother. Relative. Go ahead. Like I said, go to happstv.com and also drop a few coins in the collection plate. We'll definitely appreciate it over here. So check you guys on Sunday. Stay safe. And like I said, it's a great weekend for the Super Bowl. Everything else as well, too. So we'll talk to you guys later on Sunday. Stay safe. Peace out. And we'll see you guys later.